The St. Louis Blues completed day one of training camp.
Hey, this is Brayden Shen.
Subscribe to Lock On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about the St. Louis Blues. We have a busy episode for you today here on Locked On Blues because I felt like it was really important to take training camp this year as seriously as possible. That's why this episode is going out a little bit later, because I took my time to listen to all the player interviews to see what happened on the ice and to give you the best content. So we're going to talk overall about training camp. We're going to talk about what Dylan Holloway had to say, and then, of course, what Coach Montgomery had to say. It was a busy day at camp, and it's going to be a busy day today here on Locked On Blues. I do want to let you know, however, this episode today is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. It is now officially the 2025-26 season for our St. Louis Blues, and I could not be more excited about it. When it comes to training camp, this is the opportunity where players can really show why they want to be on the team, and that goes without needing to say that spots on their team, well, they're limited. But right now, the Blues have an opportunity to really be a competitive team. Now, I do want to start off with some news that Jake Neighbors will be missing the first 3 days of training camp. Now, I know when GM Doug Armstrong spoke to the media yesterday, there was no news about any kind of injury, right? The only thing that we heard was that everybody looks good, but evidently, it does appear that Jake Neighbors will be missing the first 3 days. And I was a little bit surprised that the news came out when it did, just considering the fact that when the general manager of your team states that everybody is good, that there's no need to worry, and then all of a sudden news comes out, at least for me, it felt like maybe the Blues knew prior to that. Um, but they don't have any further comments about his absence, which kind of makes me a little bit confused on what exactly is going on. Usually, if someone's injured, they state if it's an upper body or a lower body. But when there's no comments being made, it makes me think about, hey, is there something else going on off the ice? Now, I don't want to do too much speculation because that's not fair for one, Jake Neighbors, and that's not going to do us any good. But it is something to keep in mind, and I hope that he is okay. I hope that if it is a personal family matter, that everyone's okay. You always wish the best for these players and their families. And obviously, you want to respect their time. So that's what I'll say on that. But it was interesting because we had a lot of players talk to the media, one of which was our captain, Brayden Shen. And he spoke about the new guys on the team, and he stated, quote, love the additions. Most importantly, good people, guys that seem like they're easy to get along with, and people speak really highly of them. And that's a quote from Brayden Shen. And for me personally, I think that kind of squashes any of the false narrative that these outsiders have made about some of these guys, right? We all know that Lucic is on a PTO. We know that there are some people that were not happy about Logan Mayu coming here. But overall, I think with Brayden Shen just speaking so positively, I mean, again, there's Pius Suter, there's so many other players too that you have to keep in mind. So I do believe at the end of the day, this is a good group of guys overall. And Brayden Shen seems to be a good judge of character. I mean, man, I have been following Brayden Shen in his career now, like my whole entire childhood and now. And I've had so many opportunities where I've been able to talk to the captain. And I believe that he genuinely means what he states. But he also says that, camp, this is the time to put the hard work in. And he is so motivated for this upcoming season. And that is something that I think that you need from your captain. You need that motivation, that drive. I mean, from day one of camp, obviously you're not going to get the best of the best, right? There's going to be things that you need to work on. But when the captain says, "Hey, this was a good day one," I'm going to believe him because Braden would be the first person to say otherwise. So that is why I really like that Braden Shen A spoke highly of all the new additions, and then two spoke highly of what went on the ice. Because at the end of the day, what happens on the ice is more important than anything else, right? That is what sets the tone for the season ahead. So for me personally, I took that in a really good manner. And another person that spoke to the media today was actually Logan Mayu. And he takes the record actually for being one of the fastest speakers that I have listened to in a very long time. Evidently, when it comes to Logan Mayu, he is one of those players that I don't want to say has a target on their back, right? But at the same time, I feel like maybe with everything that transpired in his past, people seem to want to talk about him. And I thought Doug Armstrong yesterday did a really good job kind of squashing that, right? He kind of just took that narrative away and just said, you know what? He didn't want to get drafted. He ended up getting drafted and he made the best out of it. Because, like, what are you going to do in a situation like that? At the end of the day, you can't really focus on anything too negative, right? But he spoke after his first skate with the team and he said that it was good. It was high pace and guys were skating and that he's been there for a few weeks. And I want to say that too, that I've noticed this trend with a lot of NHL players, especially new players to new teams, that they tend to get in town a little bit earlier than some of the returning guys. So I found that interesting. He said, "The guy's been great showing me around." When asked about his chances of making the team out of camp, he said, "I think I just have to come in and earn every step of the way." He also mentioned his relationship with Colton Parayko and Cam Fowler and said, "It's cool that I'm able to pick their brains and it's cool learning little things from them every day." He also went on to stating that he did watch Fowler and Parayko a lot on TV, so seeing them in person was really cool for him. And overall, he just seems to really appreciate this opportunity being here in St. Louis. Obviously, it's going to be for that third line, at least in my opinion. And you're going to be battling guys like a Tyler Tucker or Matthew Kessel. But I do believe that Logan Mayu has a really good opportunity to make the team out of camp. I don't necessarily think that Kessel is going to make the team. And I'm not trying to be negative. I appreciate what Matthew Kessel can do. I thought a couple seasons ago when he got called up, he actually played a lot better than last season. But overall, when you're looking about realistically who can make this team, Logan Mayu is a guy that you have to consider. And I actually thought that he had a good day one from all the tape that I saw from him and what people were saying about him. And especially with what he said after practice about how guys like a Cam Fowler and a Colton Parayko, were helpful to him. And what better guys than those two? I mean, especially when you look at Cam Fowler as a whole, he is why it's so important to have some veteran leadership on teams. It's because he's able to teach the younger players more than just what the coaches can teach, right? It's, "Hey, I've been here. I'm here now. This is what you need to do. This is how I can help you." And it's no and I'm saying this because it's true. There's no better role model defensively than a Cam Fowler. So, I am happy that Logan had a good first day at Blues training camp. Overall, though, at camp, I have to say, too, I saw some tape of Justin Carbonneau, who the Blues drafted 19th overall in this past draft class. And whoa, what a player. I mean, he has such a good shot on net. And as I stated, I think he's going to actually play the first couple games of the season with the Blues. I think that he is somebody that's going to develop. He's going to be a star. And when I had the opportunity to speak to Justin Carbonneau after he got drafted, and he told me on the Blues he models his game around a Jordan Kyrou and then NHL as a whole, like a Travis Konechny, that makes me excited because those are two players that do a really good job of finding the net, being scrappy, and giving their all in. And Justin Carbonneau, he's so young and has so much potential. So the fact that he is standing out, at least to me, at Blues training camp with all these guys that have played in the NHL just excites me. It just really gets me pumped up for what's about to happen with him. Now, it can't be Blues training camp if I don't talk about Holloway. And I actually have some video footage that the St. Louis Blues themselves sent me because I think it's really important for you not just me, but for you to see what exactly is going on with Dylan Holloway. I think that when we talk about players, especially players that had to overcome injuries, we don't always get to hear from them until the start of the season. And I feel like there's been so much confusion with Dylan Holloway, not really knowing what's going on with him, especially at the end of last season. We had no idea what he went through. So hearing from Holloway himself will honestly just set some clarity. And I'm happy that I'm able to provide you this footage, this exclusive footage, because this is what I actually enjoy the most about listening to podcasts and just YouTubers is that I'm able to hear from the players themselves and then we can digest it. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, I want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. If I can find FanDuel, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I personally love using FanDuel because I'm big into the same game parlays. And as we all know, I bet on the Eagles, okay? And this week, the Eagles are hosting the LA Rams, another kind of revenge game for the Birds, but I still think they're going to come out on top. So I always have Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown followed by Eagles money line. For me, that's usually a guarantee lock. So I always suggest that. It's really rare when that doesn't hit. So this is what I want you to do. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting fanduel.com to get started. That's fanduel.com to place your first $5 bet. We all know the impact that Dylan Holloway has had on the Blues, okay? There's no question about it. He made Jordan Kyrou look really good on the ice. But overall, he had a season where he was able to prove why he deserves A, the money that he got, and two, why he deserves to have more playing time. The problem with Edmonton was that there's so many talented older players on the Oilers, and that's me complimenting Edmonton, okay? That's not a diss. To where it was hard to find maybe as much ice time for Dylan Holloway as he would have liked. And quite honestly, in my opinion, being a Blues fan, I think the Oilers really fumbled the bag on that one. But Dylan Holloway brought something to this team that was special. And not having him towards the very end of the season and then in the playoffs, it was noticeable. We didn't see Kyrou play as well. We didn't really see the offense ignite the way that they did when he was able to play. He had speed. He's so versatile. And he is one of those players that I truly believe is going to be a star. He already showed us at his very young age, being in his early 20s, what he is capable of doing. That is why when we heard that he was injured, that he underwent surgery, it was such a concern, especially for me, because I thought to myself, oh my goodness, what's his recovery going to be like? Now, luckily for Dylan Holloway, in his own words, he said that it went by quite fast. And I want you to hear from the man himself because there's nobody better to hear from than Dylan Holloway. Again, this is courtesy of the St. Louis Blues. Take a listen.
Being back with this team, being back on the ice, wearing the blue note again.
Yeah, it's great. It's super exciting. Every time you kind of get back in the groove of things and into the routine, it's always really fun. And I thought we had a good skate today, and it's exciting to see the group that we got. So, yeah, it's been awesome.
Monty said it looked like you haven't missed a beat over the summer. Is that how you feel? Do you feel back to how you were playing?
Yeah, I feel good. I was fortunate enough that the injury actually healed faster than anticipated. So I was able to get a good summer in of like skating 100%, working out 100%, and kind of trying to get better and not really think about the oblique. So I feel pretty good right now, and just hopefully I can keep it going.
What happened?
I tore my oblique off the hip bone, and they needed to surgically repair it to kind of like pull it back down and attach it to the hip bone. So it was kind of an extensive abdomen surgery, kind of a fluke injury, honestly. They said they haven't really seen anything like that before, but I was just fortunate enough that the surgeons did a great job, and the recovery went good.
Is that as painful as it sounds?
Yeah, it was brutal there for a bit. It was like anytime you kind of clench your core or anything for a couple weeks, it was just excruciating pain. So I was in the hospital for a couple days and then just on the couch for a couple weeks. But once I kind of turned the corner, I was able to do a lot of things. So.
We talked about it a lot, probably tired of talking about it, but just what was it like to sit out and miss that and probably think you could help them?
Yeah, that was brutal. That sucked. I guess there's no way to sugarcoat it. It was awful, but I kind of had to come to peace with the terms of just not playing, and the only way I could really help out is just be a good teammate and kind of support the boys. So that's what I try to do.
Is there a mental component to this injury coming back, or do you feel pretty free out there now?
Yeah, I feel pretty free. Yeah, honestly, I'm fortunate enough. I haven't really thought about it in the last couple months, so yeah, I feel fine.
Much more comfortable. You got a year under your belt here in St. Louis. Everything maybe feels a little more familiar. Is there more comfortability this year?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, coming in last year is after kind of a crazy situation, and then I had to scramble to try and find a place, car, get my lay of the land, that kind of thing. But coming in this time, knowing everybody, knowing my way around St. Louis, being comfortable with even just like food spots, that kind of thing, it's been great, and it's a city that I'm always excited to come back to.
Now that you've had months to reflect on your season last year, maybe have a better picture of it. Did you surprise yourself even, or did you feel like given the opportunity, that's what you could do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I surprised myself. I've always felt confident in my ability, and I know what I can do. I felt good about my game coming in here last year, and yeah, I just wanted that opportunity so I could showcase that. And obviously, it's fortunate enough the way it worked out, and fortunate to play with Shenner and Kairu, two unbelievable players, and I think our line complements each other really well. So it kind of all clicked, but I think it's a matter of just being fortunate to have the opportunity and just hard work.
What's the key in your mind to maintaining level from last year or even getting better?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing is you can't get too high or too low. You can't come in this year with the mindset of like, oh, I had a good year last year, it's going to be good again this year. Like the summer, I was still pushing it, still trying to get as better as I could, and yeah, still got to keep doing those little things, those little habits to keep ahead of the curve.
So, what I took away from what Dylan Holloway said, and that was a very short clip, was that he was actually a lot better than what we thought. And for me personally, knowing that Holloway, was skating and that he felt good, that made me feel very confident, especially when it comes to any type of injury that a player has, right? You always get very concerned about what exactly went on. And for me, that at least assured me that he was actually doing a lot better. And I think for Dylan Holloway, right? It's a player that you want to be thriving, right? You want him to be confident. You want him to play like he did last season just because he played such a good game for the Blues. So overall, hearing what he said today made me feel a lot more confident. I know that was one of my biggest concerns heading into training camp was about the health of Dylan Holloway and how he was going to perform. But overall, everybody said that he had a really good day one. So if there's one takeaway, it's that Dylan Holloway is okay. And the impact that he has on this team, I don't think I can say enough or emphasize enough how substantial that really is for the Blues, especially that second line. So for me, that was my biggest concern. And the fact that my biggest concern heading into camp was addressed and now I feel good about it, I am ecstatic for the start of the regular season. I'm going to get a little too ahead of myself, but I am really happy to hear that about Dylan Holloway. Up next, I want to talk to you about something that Coach Montgomery said. I think Jim Montgomery is one of those head coaches that's going to be very honest. He's going to hold players accountable. But most importantly, he's going to do whatever it takes to make sure that this team is successful. And that's what you want in a head coach. You don't want any I can't say the word that I was going to say, but you don't want any of that stuff going on. You want a team that is amped up, motivated, and ready to go game one. You don't want to have any excuses. You don't want to say, well, it's because, we haven't really figured out our lines yet. You don't want that. You want a coach that's going to hold a team accountable at training camp. And what I heard from Coach Jim Montgomery today assured me that he's going to do just that. So before we talk about what Monty had to say, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all in one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data, visuals, or smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money ever without touching a spreadsheet. Personally, for me, I love that it's all there. It makes it easy. I can look in just one place and I know exactly where everything is. I have a tendency to forget passwords sometimes. So for me, having Monarch Money just makes that so convenient, just knowing, hey, no matter where I go, I'm able to find it. I also want to say that going paperless, at least for me, has made this process a lot easier. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Coach Montgomery does not hold back, and that is why I love him as our head coach. But at the same time, I also think it's really interesting what he had to say. He spoke on the first day at camp and he stated pretty good overall. Intensity was good. Pace was slow in a couple of drills, but good in the drills where we had to battle each other. So I want to digest that for a minute. Pretty good overall. That is expected, by the way, with the first day of training camp. You're not going to have any coach that comes out and says, oh, well, this was the best, day one ever. That's not how it goes. Again, players, while they did skate in the summer, they're experiencing their NHL intensity again, right? So you have to keep that in mind. But I do like that he was able to break down exactly what was good in his eyes and what needed to be worked on. Intensity, and we heard that from Brandon Shen about the intensity. I think that we can all agree that the Blues did good on that, right? Pace was slow in a couple of drills. And again, you're not going to have a fast pace on certain drills, especially if you're just kind of getting into his system. Again, this is his first training camp as head coach with the Blues. But he said they were good in the drills where they had to battle each other. And I think that's where the intensity factor comes in. I think that when you're having board battles, you're going to see players actually execute really well. So, on that note, I was happy about that. He continues on. Execution is not where we want it, but you expect that on day one. I'm going to break down that. Execution. Now, my question would be execution on what? What exactly? Offensively, defensively, what exactly execution wise? But again, it could just be an overall, right? He said, if you don't have a good camp, you don't have a good start. And that stuck with me. If you don't have a good camp, you don't have a good start. We play the Minnesota Wild in Minnesota, so at Minnesota, and it's going to be a really tough game one. Okay? It's not going to be easy. The Blues, they made it to the playoffs last season, and the goal is to get back again. You don't want to be a second wild card. You want to strive to maybe finish within the top 3 of your division. If not, then maybe wild card 1. But I think that there is a standard now in St. Louis where we have the players, right? We have Binnington in net. I actually had an argument earlier today with Shukri from NHL Game Night, where Binnington, in my opinion, is a top 5 goalie. And I know there's people that are going to be like, Haley, no, he's not. Okay, this is my argument to you of why he's a top 5 goalie. I count the postseason. I count the playoffs. Okay. I don't care about any of that. Oh, well, this is the best regular season goalie. No, Jordan Binnington is the most consistent goalie, in my opinion, who is a Canadian. See how I'm making it? But I'm just saying, when it comes to the regular season and the playoffs. So, on that aspect, the Blues are good. The Blues have a star within Robert Thomas. They have Jordan Kyrou, Dylan Holloway. They have Pius Suter they added, who's going to bring a lot of depth offensively. They also have Jimmy Snuggerud, okay? We cannot forget about Snuggy in this whole big picture. Defensively, Colton Parayko has been the staple who's going to end up being on Team Canada, okay? You have Philip Broberg, who had a really good season last season. And yes, I understand. Maybe the Blues don't have as much defensive talent now, but they do have guys like an Adam Juracek that are going to step up, and even Logan Mayu, who had such a fantastic day one of camp. So when I break down the Blues position by position, player by player, and I compare it with the rest of the league, the question then arises, at least for me, what makes the Blues not as good as a team as others maybe say? Why would I think that the Blues are not going to make it to the playoffs? Why would I say that in a couple years from now, the Blues won't be a cup contending team? Because I don't believe that. I think they will be. Okay. I'm not saying this season, but I'm saying in a couple years from now, I think this is a cup contending team. Definitely a playoff contending team. So I'll leave it at that. It was a successful day one. We got reassurance on Dylan Holloway. We heard Coach Montgomery hold this team accountable. He doesn't care about the fact that, they were off this summer. No, this is training camp. This is when it begins to matter. It's right now, not game one of the season. And then we saw a lot of good from Logan Mayu, who was a player that I was really excited to see at camp just because of how awesome he did in the AHL. And while those 7 games with the Canadians weren't the best for him, I do believe that he has a lot of talent. And sometimes in those few games where you do get caught up, you're not going to always show what you're capable of, kind of like Dvorsky, right? Where he didn't have the best kind of couple games, but we know that he's a good player. So overall development, it does matter, but this was a really good day one of camp. I'll talk to you tomorrow about day 2 of camp. And like always, how I end every single episode, let's go Blues.